Hello and welcome to Green Scene. I'm Inesta Jones of the Office of Public Affairs. Summer's here and people across America are spending quality time outdoors. Before you go outside, however, EPA wants to be sure you know about sun-safe behaviors to prevent skin cancer. Because the sun's ultraviolet or UV radiation levels are at their peak during this time of the year. Luke Hall-Jordan, an outreach and education specialist with EPA's Sunwise program, is here to tell us why we need to protect ourselves from the sun's rays, how to do it properly, and what EPA is doing to help people be safer in the sun. Welcome to the show, Luke.
Thanks for having me.
So, Luke, why is sun protection so important, and what happens if we don't protect ourselves?
Well, sun protection is important for some very compelling reasons, mostly for your skin's health and your eye's health. First, in the short term, it can cause a painful sunburn, which is never fun. In the longer term, it can lead to premature aging and wrinkling of the skin, sunspots, not the most attractive. Also, it can lead to eye damage like cataracts and macular degeneration. It can also lead to immune system suppression after you get a sunburn especially, and then skin cancer. Skin cancer is a serious disease. It impacts more than one in five Americans. So, we want to make sure that we're getting the word out. But it also is more common than colon, lung, breast, and prostate cancers combined, making it the most common cancer in the United States.
It seems like I've been hearing more about skin cancer in the last decade. Why is this?
Well, there are a few reasons that this could happen. EPA focuses on two of the reasons why skin cancer is on the rise in particular. First, we look at ozone layer depletion. Ozone layer blocks UV, ultraviolet radiation, and since it's not as healthy as it used to be, we've been working through the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer with the global community to phase out the chemicals that have been eating up or hurting the ozone layer. Mm-hmm. Now, this takes some time. There's a lag time between when the ozone layer will recover and when we phase out these chemicals. So 2065 is the expected recovery date, a while away. In the meantime, we need to do something to protect people now and encourage them to be safe in the sun, which gets to our second piece that EPA focuses on. If you look back to the early 1900s, people were covering up all the time with a parasol, with hats, with full-length clothing. Now when they go outside, people are wearing as little as possible and seeking the sun. So to help counteract that, we developed the Sunwise program at EPA to educate the public and particularly children and families about the importance of being safe in the sun and what it does to them in the long term.
You're absolutely right. I like to bear arms in the summertime. Can I still go sleeveless and be safe in the sun?
You can go sleeveless. Obviously, the longer your shirt is, the more protection that you're getting. But you're going to want to wear some sunscreen when you go outside. And you're going to want to look for a sunscreen that has an SPF of 15 or higher. You're going to want to look for an SPF that blocks a sunscreen that blocks broad spectrum UVA and UVB. And then most importantly, you want to look for a sunscreen that you'll wear. What good is sunscreen if you're never going to put it on? So try some different sunscreens out to see which one fits for you. And this sort of brings up another interesting topic that I do want to talk about, because occasionally we get questions about newborns and sunscreen. And the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that the first priority is keeping your kid out of the sun, your newborn up to 6 months out of the sun, unless they have a medical condition like jaundice, in which case they need some sun exposure. If you can't keep them out of the sun, when you're outdoors, seek shade, cover up with full-length clothing, hats, sunglasses. If you can't do that, then they say try the sunscreen out. Small amounts, back of the hands, the face, other exposed skin.
Let's talk a little bit more about sunscreen. It seems like you go in the stores these days and you see shelves and shelves of sunscreen. So it's hard to decide which one to buy. What should you look for? Well,
again, you want to look for that SPF 15. You want to make sure it's at least that. You want to look for the UVA, UVB broad spectrum protection, and then you want to find one that you're comfortable wearing.
So SPF 15 versus 30, which is better?
Well, SPF 15 is good enough. A lot of people think that SPF 30 is twice as good as SPF 15. It's not. An SPF of 15 blocks 93% of UVB rays. Those are the burning rays compared to the UVA, the aging rays, which is getting back to why you need that broad spectrum protection. An SPF 30, on the other hand, blocks 97%. You bump that up to an SPF of 100, you might think, oh, 100% protection. It's only 99% blocking UV. So it really gets smaller and smaller. The more protection you get, the higher the number. So if you want an SPF or 30, that's fine, but you don't need to pay more for it. So just look for something that you can wear and apply properly, because the application is really the key. You want to make sure you're putting it on every 2 hours, well, first of all, before you go out, and then again every 2 hours, and then reapply it generously.
That was my next question, Luke. You see labels that say all-day protection or waterproof protection. Does that mean in the morning when I slather on some sunscreen before I go to work that I don't need to reapply it?
Well, no. There's no such thing as all-day protection. There's no such thing as waterproof. It is going to come off in water after extended periods of time. So again, you're going to want to make sure you put it on generously, a palm full, an ounce full of sunscreen, and then put it on every 2 hours. If you're swimming or sweating or toweling dry, you're going to want to reapply it more often, probably every 40 to 80 minutes, depending on the sunscreen.
I brought a big bottle of sunscreen last year, and I have some leftovers. Can I use it this summer? You
can use it, but I'd first look at the expiration date. The expiration date could be on there, might not be. What we recommend people do is, first of all, write the date that you purchased it on the bottle, and then 3 years later, throw it out. But I do want to interject. If you've got a bottle of sunscreen and you've had it for multiple seasons, you might not be using enough. Or maybe you like to buy a lot of sunscreen bottles, and that's fine too. But you want to make sure you're putting a generous, palmful, an ounce. I mean, an 8-ounce bottle of sunscreen for a family outdoors on a weekend. If they're outside, hopefully seeking some shade in between for 4 hours, they're going to go through a bottle of sunscreen in 4 hours. So you really do want to use it very liberally.
One last question on sunscreen. Many people think that you only need to wear it in the summer. Isn't that a big misnomer?
It is a big misnomer. You need to wear it year-round. Obviously, some days if it's pitch black outside, you're not going to need to put it on. But you want to look at your shadow. If your shadow is taller than you are, you need to be wearing sunscreen if you're outdoors for extended periods of time. And I do want to say that sunscreen, we've talked about it a lot, but it's not the only way to be safe outside from the sun. And I'm going to give you a little tidbit of information. It's a fun little mnemonic device you can use to help remember things. You're going to slip, slop, slap, wrap, and seek shade. So I'm going to act some of these out, okay?
All right.
If you want to join me, you're welcome.
I will. I will.
First, you're going to slip on a shirt.
Okay.
You're going to slop on some sunscreen.
All right.
Now you're going to want to, yeah, please do. You're going to probably put it on more than just your nose.
Okay.
But for now, that'll work.
I'll put
all right.
some in these arms.
There we go.
Okay.
And then you want to slap on a hat.
Slap on a hat. Okay.
Okay. And wrap on some sunglasses. All right. So now we are Sunwise. And then seek shade between the hours of 10 and 4 when you can.
I think I got it.
Yeah.
So Luke, getting back to skin cancer, can dark-skinned people like myself, are we still prone to skin cancer?
Absolutely. Skin cancer doesn't discriminate against ethnicity, race, or age. It can get anybody. And Bob Marley, in fact, died of melanoma at age 36. Melanoma is the most often fatal form of skin cancer, and it's very unfortunate. They didn't catch it early enough, which seems to be the problem often with individuals with darker skin. African Americans, in fact, are 3 times as likely to be diagnosed with a late-stage melanoma skin cancer as whites, and Hispanics are 2 times more likely to be diagnosed with a late-stage melanoma than whites. This is very important because for anybody, the later you catch it, the more likely you are, the less likely you are to beat the disease. If you catch it in the earliest stage, it's 99% survival rate, which is very good. I mean, almost everybody. If you get down to a later stage, you're looking at between 15 and 65% survival. So you're going from pretty much 10 in 10 people surviving, down to between 1 and 7, which is a very dramatic drop-off.
Definitely. We've been talking a lot about sun safety for people who want to go and just have a good time. But for those who are in the sun all day, year-round, for work, construction workers, what advice do we have for them?
Well, it's really the same advice. Got to remember to wear that wide-brim hat, like we are. The sunscreen. They can't seek shade as easily, so it does become an issue for folks that are in the recreation industry. We talked about skiing earlier. You'd see a lot of sunburned skiers. You also have fishing, agriculture. Also, anybody else, construction, like you said, that are working outside, to slip, slop, slap, wrap, and seek shade.
And one final question.
Sure.
What is EPA doing to help to promote people being safe in the sun?
Well, EPA is, first we provide the UV index, which is a tool to help you plan for your next day's, events. It tells you what the peak UV level will be for the day. And you can find it on the website, newspapers, and very soon, in fact, you'll be able to find it on Facebook, which is kind of cool. And we also provide the Sunwise Toolkit, which is a free activity kit for elementary and middle school educators. Now, that's both in the school system as well as folks in after-school programs, camps, and in working with kids. And it's really the goal is to teach kids and their families how to be safe outside in the sun with some fun and engaging activities. We also provide a huge number of publications on skin cancer, sun damage, on the UV index, really anything that we might be talking about today, like sunscreen. You can get the publications for free online, or we can ship them to you. And finally, EPA works with the National Council on Skin Cancer Prevention, which is a group of 45 organizations that are all working, to prevent skin cancer. And this year, we had our first ever Don't Friday, which was the Friday before Memorial Day, the unofficial kickoff of summer. Just encouraging people to, remember to slip, slop, slap, and wrap when they go outside, and really just raise awareness about skin cancer.
Great. Well, thank you for being here today, Luke.
Well, thank you for having me.
For not only telling us how to be safe in the sun, but showing us. For more tips on how to be safer in the sun, go to www.epa.gov/sunwise. See you next time on Green Scene.